What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update and a few interesting bits to get through today. And let's start off with Jose Mourinho's comments yesterday in his press conference just before the Conference League semi-final tonight against Leicester. And they were asking him stuff about is he worried about getting sacked after this semi-final if he wins it? Because that's exactly what happened to him at Tottenham Hotspur. And he replied with quite a funny snippet. And he says, "In my long career, so many things have happened, good and bad. And the one thing, and that one is quite unique, but I must say Daniel Levy is also unique." And I said Levy because that's the way he says it.
Daniel Levy.
But,
Mr. Levy?
Yeah, Mr. Levy. But what do you make out of those comments? Is Daniel Levy unique?
I think everyone agrees that he's one of the most, he said he's one of the most unique people in football, he said in that quote, which is quite telling because Mourinho's been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
You know, even at Man United, he's had to deal with a lot of stuff, Real Madrid, and now Roma, but he says Levy's a very unique person. And I don't know, look, he was laughing when he said it. I don't know what you know,
do you think he means by it?
I just think maybe, who knows, you can read whatever you want into that, but I think he probably means like, I wouldn't say like ruthless, but he's someone who he's always business first, isn't he, Daniel Levy? And he always thinks of the optics of what all the decision makings he's doing, and maybe he you know, to sack a manager just before a cup final is a very unique thing to do, and he's probably never encountered that in his life. And only Levy could do that, I think. Sack a manager for 6 days for a final. Who knows what he meant, but you know, considering what we all think of Levy, it's probably, you can probably read whatever you want into that.
Yeah, and it kind of, you know, a story that's doing the rounds on social media at the moment, people that we know close to what's happening, talking about being ruthless and unique. You know, a Spurs fan diagnosed with terminal cancer, 60 years he's been going to Spurs, home and away, I believe. And he's literally a few months away from getting his senior citizen you know, discount from the club for a season ticket. And he would have got his discount 2 weeks into the new season, literally 2 weeks into the new season. And they've refused the discount. And this guy, the doctors have given him 18 months to live. And apparently he might not even last that, might not even see the new season. And the club are refusing to give him that discount, which I think
is disgraceful.
Is a bit disgraceful.
That is disgusting, really. Just give it to him for free, like, let alone not even give him a discount.
He's been going for 60 years.
That is just Levy, like, on a, obviously I don't think it's that decision directly comes from Levy, but it definitely indicates the culture around the club, isn't it? Every single penny has to be accounted for, and they can't give someone like that who's
11 days out from getting his thing, by the way,
from being a senior citizen officially from the club, and he doesn't have long to live, and they won't give him the senior citizen price. So what they're going to say, there's nothing we can do, our hands are tied. Rubbish. Come on, Tottenham, do the right thing. Do the right thing, man. That is disgusting to hear. And that really, like, and considering what we hear, you know, you hear these stories about Levy. What was it? I can't remember what player he signed. He signed a player from somewhere in like an Eastern European club. I can't exactly remember the actual story. And the club negotiated with him that with the signing of the player, they'll give him a couple of shirts because they wanted a couple of shirts for the game. And he said when they did the transaction, he took off the shirt money from the deal. It's like he can't even give a couple of Tottenham shirts away for free.
Yeah, but not even that. Like Brad Friedel brought up those stories as well, where he was giving shirts away and they took it out of his wages.
That's the culture of the club, isn't it?
And also Jake Livermore was telling us that Daniel Levy still owes him money and stuff like that. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, the stories are endless with him.
No, but that really is that is disgusting. If that's
disgusting.
You know that they won't give him a senior citizen. He's not even asking for that much. He's asking for something that's very reasonable when they won't even give that to him. I think that's shocking behaviour.
Let's move on and let's talk about Christian Romero. Fabrizio Romano has been talking about him, and he says, talking about Tottenham and Christian Romero, they are super happy about it because Tottenham will pay around 50 to 55 million euros to Atalanta, but they are 100% convinced that they signed a fantastic centre-back for the present and for the future. So obviously he's talking about Tottenham making the loan move permanent this summer.
Yeah, I think we have to. The way he's played, the way he's settled into the squad. And I also think as well, once he gets especially defenders around him and better wing-backs around him who are more aggressive, more on the front foot like he is, it's going to make us a lot harder to play against. Because right now I feel like he does this aggressive proactiveness, and he's so much more aggressive than a lot of the defenders around him. Sometimes if they're not all like hunting in the pack together, it can leave us exposed. But he does so much good work. If people matched his energy, would be so much tougher to play against. And I'm delighted with how he's been. I think he's been a fantastic first year. Look, it's not been without its hiccups, but by and large, it's been very successful. And obviously, he did miss 3 months as well. So hopefully next season he won't have that gap in the season. And I think it's a no-brainer at this point. We have to sign him up.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And let's move on to some more rumours. This time, James Ward-Prowse. Ali Gold says Tottenham have been long keeping an eye on James Ward-Prowse, but I wonder just how expensive he'll be this summer with 4 years left in his contract. Paul O'Keefe was talking on Twitter last night, making a few comments about it, and he says James Ward-Prowse is being considered as a summer target. Although he only just recently signed a 5-year contract, Paul mentioned on Twitter that he thinks, or he's just speculating at this point, but he is speculating that he could have a top 6 clause in his contract.
A bit like Grealish.
So which is quite interesting. So what do you think of James Ward-Prowse? I think I would love him at the club.
I think he's a very good player. I think he's now 26, so he's not like a youngster anymore. He's been around. He's been at Southampton a long time. He's obviously taken the captain's armband. He's taken a lot of responsibility. Yeah, I think he's done a great job. I think he's one of those midfielders who's who's like a box-to-box midfielder. He's one of those where you don't want to give him any space around the 25-yard box because he can be lethal. He's amazing from set pieces, and I think he's a very hard worker as well. He won't be like a Ndombele or something off the ball. Like he's really good off the ball as well. Makes a lot of tackles, interceptions. The only worry is obviously I think we need homegrown. So I think obviously he would be a good signing, but how much money would he cost if he does have a top 6 release clause? How much is it? Is it 60 million? Is it set like, because it could be one of those a bit like Kane or Declan Rice where he's worth a lot more to Southampton than he is to us? Because I think, to be honest, the quality of him, he's probably worth around 45 million, between 40 and 45, I would say. And are we going to get him for that? We'd have to probably play a Premier League premium, an English premium, and a Southampton captain premium on top of that as well. So that's you could be looking at 60, 65 million, maybe, you could be looking at that kind of money. And I just don't think he's worth that. I think we can get better options than him for that kind of money.
The problem is the English quota that we're, desperately struggling with. And, teams are going to know that, and any English player, I know they're going to have their English premium, but they're also going to be Tottenham need an English premium as well.
Yeah. The thing is as well with his set pieces, we're desperate for a set piece specialist right now. We literally have no one who looks like who's a threat from set. The best one is Eric Dyer.
To get Harry Kane off free kicks.
I mean, we need someone who's as lethal as Ward-Prowse is from corners and free kicks, and that would add another element to our attack. But I don't know if this one.
I would sign him for 60 million if I had any say in it. I would sign him for 60 million. I really would. I rate him that highly. And yeah, you might be playing a bit over what he's worth, but what he's going to bring to the team in terms of set pieces, work rate, the English quota, I think it would be a really good deal for us. I really do.
Him or Calvin Phillips?
Oof. Calvin Phillips, what's the age difference there?
About a year
same age. Same age.
They're both 26, I think. Unless Ward-Prowse is a bit older.
I don't know, I think Calvin Phillips might be a tiny bit of a better player, but I think James Ward-Prowse, for the qualities that he brings and for the qualities...
27, so Ward-Prowse is a year older. I think Phillips is a better player, but Ward-Prowse has those set pieces with Calvin Phillips.
I think I'd prefer James Ward-Prowse, but just...
It's a close one.
I'd be happy with either of them.
In terms of what we need, I think Ward-Prowse is probably more fit to what we need, but I do think Calvin's a slightly better player.
Yeah, I agree with that. And let's move on more from Ali Gold, this time on Thomas Soucek of West Ham. And Ali Gold says there's a suggestion that Antonio Conte is a fan of Thomas Soucek. You know what? I'm a fan of him as a player as well, but it doesn't mean anything, to be honest, because I can't see West Ham selling to us for anything.
We do need someone with a bit of hype, but I don't see us getting Soucek. No chance. I can't see West Ham dealing with us, especially if they actually are going to lose Rice. in the summer, which, you know, is looking like a possibility, seeing as he's not signing a contract. I can't see them allowing Soucek to go. And also, I definitely believe if they were going to allow him to go, it'd be for big money, and it'll be way over his value. And we're not talking about, well, I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as someone like Phillips or Warde-Prowse on the ball anyway, and they're probably going to ask for like 50 million plus.
Well, but if you bring in Warde-Prowse, you almost need to bring in Soucek with him for the set pieces.
Yeah, true. I mean, he would be a massive threat, wouldn't he? But like we already have Bentancur, Højbjerg to skip around. I don't think we need someone like Soucek desperately.
Yeah, I'd agree. Next up, let's talk about those Antonio Conte and PSG links once again, and hopefully for the last time, as someone in Antonio Conte's entourage has been speaking to Gazzetta Italia, and the quote is, "This is absurd fake news. There is no contact with anyone." So hopefully this can kind of put to bed those Conte and PSG fake news rumours.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where it first originated from, but it sounds like it's complete rubbish, and that's great news. Obviously, Pochettino was asked in his press conference today, do you see yourself at PSG next season, and do you see Mbappe here next season? He said 100% as of today we're going to be here next season.
As of today, yeah. What about
as
of
what
tomorrow?
He said, exactly. More as of the next hour. You know, he'll probably check his phone and he's been sacked. But that is interesting, you know, that he said that. But whatever. Yeah, look, I think Conte right now, as of today as well, is fully committed to Tottenham. I think he's just going to trying as hard as he can to get us in that top 4 position, not just for us, but for himself as well. It would be amazing for his reputation if he does that, and his standards. So I don't think there's any danger of him taking his eye off the ball. But we'll see in the summer. All is still uncertain.
Next up, we're going to talk about the revamp of the Tottenham recruitment and scouting teams, as Fabio Paratici is undertaking a thorough revamp of Tottenham scouting and recruitment teams, and is close to appointing a brand new number 2 following the exit of Steve Hitchen from the club in the last couple of months. There's also been an official statement from Tottenham Hotspur in the last 24 hours saying that Tottenham's head of recruitment, Brian Kerry, has decided to leave the role following 6 years at the club. I mean, first of all, I'd never heard of this guy ever until today.
Apparently, he conducted
he left the club.
Apparently, he conducted most of his work via Zoom.
Right.
And he wasn't. That his title suggests he had more of a role.
Most of his work last 6 years.
Apparently, that's what Dan Kilpatrick said. And apparently, that his title makes it seem like he was more important than he actually was.
Right.
To the scouting network.
So what did he actually do then?
I don't know.
Just conduct meetings on Zoom.
I don't know. I can't say.
Anyway, irrelevant. The Paratici, it's good that Paratici is heading up the revamp here of the scouting and the recruitment teams. I think it's needed a revamp for a while, probably since since Paul Mitchell left the club, and it's just good news, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we know that we need better scouting. Obviously, last summer there have been some hits, some misses, but we need to make sure that we're getting these things right. The fact that
more misses than hits, I would say.
Yeah, but obviously in January we had a couple of good deals. But we need to make sure that when we do spend big money, we're doing the due diligence and we're getting these decisions right. Because first of all, you just even look at the right back situation. The fact we've gone from Walker and Trippier to Emerson and Doherty, that's like unforgivable.
And not only that, but we got rid of Kyle Walker-Peters and brought in Emerson Royale.
Exactly. You know, these decisions are really hurting us at the moment. We're not making the right ones in a lot of facets. You know, getting rid of signing Brian Hill for 22 million plus Lamela. That wasn't a good deal for us. A lot of deals like that we've been doing. So I'm happy that we're getting new scouting people in, and hopefully that can lead to a lot of better decision making with the brinkmanship of Paratici at the head of it as well.
Exactly. And last but not least, let's talk about Troy Parrott. There's been an article on The Athletic via Charlie Eccleshare, and there's been some interesting quotes on there. The only one I've got here in front of me, I think you've got the article there, is, "When I was younger, I used to look at a lot of stuff that was being written about me, and it got to my head." So obviously he's talking about coming through the ranks at Spurs, and there was a lot of media hype around him, wasn't there? Saying like he's the next best thing, the next Harry Kane, all this kind of next Robbie Keane, a lot of people were saying. team, and he kind of maybe believed his own hype a bit too much and didn't really put in those hard yards in training and stuff. Is there anything else in that article?
Well, he said that when he had his first start against Colchester, Pochettino finally gave him his first start, and he said it was another reality check for me. I didn't play great against Colchester. I kept dropping far away from goal, and I just thought it was harder than it seems. He said I love working under Pochettino. He was always wanting to help me at every opportunity he could, just talking to me, and he gave me my debut, and I was massively grateful. But during the game, he said, I was just thinking, Jesus, I'm tired. My legs are jelly. But it's normal for other players, and they're doing it easily. And even then, the coaches are saying, keep going, get back in position, and do this and do that. And they were 100% right. I wasn't physically fit enough, and that's one of the main things that sticks out. I felt like my lungs were about to fall out. And obviously, he said, there was that period during Mourinho's reign when we had no fit strikers. Kane and Son were out, and everyone was calling for Parrott to get in the first team. And he says that at the time, where is the quote I'm trying to get? He said at the time he felt like he deserved to play in the first team, but he said in the end the coaches were right, and he was still a kid and he was nowhere near physically ready enough to play in that role. But maybe the hype got to him, and he said after that Colchester game, for example, he was reading things, because before that game he thought he was ready and he was good to go, and he was ready to take his chance, and then he read things on social media after the game saying how rubbish he is and he's nowhere near ready and he's not good enough, and it really got to him and it really made him down and stuff like that. And it's interesting to hear that from a young striker who obviously has a lot of hope for, and maybe people talking him up too early is a danger, and it got to his head too early, and he realised that he's still got a lot more growing up to do. And it's one thing doing things at youth level, and it's another thing doing it in the men's game, and he's starting, thankfully, right now at MK Dons to show what he's about, and he's doing quite well at the moment. He just needs to keep going, keep progressing himself, and it's not about comparing himself to a different 18-year-old who's in the Premier League or something like that. It's about doing it at his pace. And you just look at the striker right now for Tottenham, Harry Kane, wasn't in the first team at all until he was 21, and then all of a sudden he became one of the best Premier League strikers of all time, let alone in the league at the moment. So he's just got to make sure he goes at his own pace, progresses how he does, and doesn't try and jump any steps or take any shortcuts, because he's just got to keep working hard.
I think it's important, not just Troy Parrott can learn lessons from this, but even the fan base, I think, because the fan base were clearly calling for Troy Parrott to get more minutes at the time when he was clearly not ready. Similar to Dane Scarlett as well. Dane Scarlett, maybe, fans have been calling for him to play, maybe not so much recently, but I think there has been calls for him to see more minutes. And I think that it's important as a fan base to not try and rush these players' developments.
Exactly.
And I think that we need to just support the kind of development phase and support what they're trying to do with these players, and they'll get their chance when they're ready. And that's what it boils down to.
And that's what I was saying early in the season about Scarlett. Like, people say, give Scarlett a run. Kane's not doing it. Just put Scarlett in. It's like, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill his confidence. You're going to absolutely wreck him because he's going to get scrutinized. Everyone's going to say he's not good enough because he's 17 and he's a kid. And obviously putting that kind of pressure on someone way too early can be completely detrimental. So I think maybe Parrott suffered from that, and I'm happy we haven't rushed Scarlett. I mean, look, we put him in some European games and he hasn't been good enough, and people have already been criticizing him. So it's just important to make sure these young players are not thrown to the wolves as such in these situations, and they get to progress their own pace. And look, Parrott's doing well now. It's not just for MK Dons, it's also international level, so proving it. And for Ireland as well, he's starting to score some goals. So let's just keep patient with him, see how he does next season with another loan deal. And I'm happy that maybe it's finally clicked with him mentally.
Absolutely. Anyway, that is our Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comments section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.